for joining in. So I'm sharing my screen and then we're going to start. All right. So a very good afternoon, everyone. So today we are going to talk about the safe and sound protocol. So as the name suggests, safe and sound, it has two components in it. Please mute yourself, everyone. All right. So as the name suggests, there are two components. It uses two components and it shows improvement in those two. So safe and sound. The child has to be in the safe environment using the sound, which eventually will lead to increase in the safety cues and increase in the sound receptivity and comprehension. So this particular protocol was devised by Dr. Stephen Porges. He is a distinguished university scientist at the Kinsey Institute, Indiana University, and he has developed this protocol using sound receptivity and comprehension. Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, Neha, you are audible.
Okay, thank you. So this particular protocol is based on a very sound research base and very sound evidence base. A lot of studies has been conducted and it has shown very good results. So this is basically a music intervention which was originally created for 5 hours, 1 hour per day for 5 continuous days. Now they have further added on to the protocol pathways which we will be discussing. So this particular intervention, it helps to reduce the stress and the auditory sensitivities at the one hand, and it increases the social engagement and resilience on the other hand. So even though this particular program is not just focused on one diagnosis, it can be applied to an array of diagnoses, an array of symptoms. For example, stress, anxiety, trauma, autism, ADHD, APD, social communication disorders, anybody suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. So a wide array of diagnosis is covered by this particular protocol, and how it is able to do that we will be discussing. So this protocol is based on a theory called as polyvagal theory. It works by calming the physiological and emotional state of the body. So when you are physiologically calm, you're emotionally calm, your learning and communication automatically improves, plus you're very receptive to whatever other therapies you are undergoing, and you have a good success chance of performing better in those plus in other life scenarios. I'm sorry, my screen is stuck, I think. Okay. So what is this polyvagal theory? So now talking of the nervous system has central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and autonomic nervous system. So like all the nervous system, we know the term neuroplasticity, right? So neuroplasticity is the ability to create new pathways or new neuronal connections throughout the life. This is the plasticity of the brain. So it is present in the CNS, PNS, and it is also present in the ANS or the autonomic nervous system. It is as plastic as the other parts of the brain. So it can learn to stay activated when necessary. There's another term that is known as neuroception. Neuroception means how we detect the external cues and respond in the bodily manner. So suppose I have I have some sound coming, and I might perceive it as a threat and I might perceive it as a safety cue. For our kids, now I'm coming totally to the spectrum part of it. So for our kids, they have an issue distinguishing between the real fear and the perceived fear. And the most common reason for it is they are in a state of chronic defensiveness. Dr. Lala, can you please mute the? Yeah, thank you. So, our kids, they're usually in the chronic state of defensiveness. You see, most of our kids, they are always in a, very high stress level. The body will be tensed up. They're always on a surge, like what is going around me, and they're never calm down. So they're always on their toes as to what is going on. They are always perceiving threat or fear from the surroundings when none is existing. So they cannot distinguish this is the real threat and this is the perceived threat. And that perceived threat keeps them in a constantly high, it keeps them in a constant stress zone, and they are always defensive. And this leads to the compromised social engagement and compromised social skills as we see it. So in neuroception, what you'll see, there'll be changes in heart rate. So you will find the heart is beating fast and I'm already pulsating, I'm sweating. The muscle tension can be seen very, very evidently. The tightening of the skin, the hair, the sensory changes. I'll be, at the edge, and I'll be more sensory, I'll be more sensitive to the sensory stimulations. So organ slowing down happens. So all these things, they happen in neuroception when you are perceiving something as a threat, when it might be, when it might not be. For our kids, usually they take any cues as a perceived threat. So we see these things a little more in them. So this diagram is very important to understand. So as you can see here, I hope you can see my cursor. So here is the social engagement. Now ANS, or the autonomic nervous system, is divided into further three systems: social engagement, sympathetic, and parasympathetic. Social engagement is controlled by the ventral vagal. Ventral vagal is a branch of vagus nerve. So vagus nerve is one cranial nerve 10, which runs down from the brain stem to the till the colon in our body. And colon is like the last part of your digestive system, and it controls the whole wide range of the viscera or the organs. So it innervates your ear muscles, the area around the ear and the muscles. It innervates your facial things. It innervates your larynx, the throat, from where you're controlling the speech part. It innervates your lungs, it innervates your heart and the abdominal system. So everything is controlled by this particular vagus nerve. So usually we see when we get together, we are usually dining or eating, or we are in a jolly mood, and that is when we are in our best state. So our abdomen is working very well, our heart is working very well, it is at a normal pace, the respiration is controlled, and we have a very soft, polite, and very welcoming tone in our voice. So all those things, when we see, we are in the social engagement status, or the social engagement uh, part of the nervous system. So when we are engaging with others. Now, for a kid for whom this particular system is not very active, he will then be in the sympathetic zone. Sympathetic zone is where I am always edgy. Like the three F's are activated here: flight, fright, or fight. So either I want to run away from there, or I want to resist it. Okay, so I either want to fight, or I want to flight, or I am afraid of it. So in that particular scenario, I will always be in a high stress zone. I will be panicking. I'll be fearing. I'll be having anxiety. Just a second, everyone. Uh, 1 second. Hello. I'm sorry, there was a disturbance. Okay. Can everybody see my screen now? Am I audible, parents? Can you see the screen? I don't know if I've lost my connection.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay, thank you. All right. So, continuing on to the sympathetic. So, when the child is in the sympathetic zone, he will be more anxious, he will be more stressed, he will be frustrated, he will show aggression. And if everything of this is past, and sometimes, the flight, and fright does not work, and the body feels too drained, and it is like, I cannot cope with this thing anymore, then the body enters into the parasympathetic dorsal vagal system. Okay, where the child goes into a completely freeze mode. Freeze mode is where it is perceived as a life threat, as we say, not literally, but the person or the child goes in a dissociative mode or a shutdown mode or depression or complete collapse. So, first, whenever you're in a normal mode, like we are talking, we are in the social engagement zone. Now, if I perceive some threat, my body will move from social engagement to sympathetic. The sympathetic takes over, where I want to either fight it or I want to run away from it. If my sympathetic fails to deal with this, then my body will shift to the dorsal vagal parasympathetic system, where I'll be in a complete collapse. Like, you are in a jungle and you hear the sound of the tiger around. So, first, you were very calm, you were just roaming through the jungle, you were in a good social engagement state. Then, you hear the sound and you perceive cues of threat. Immediately your body goes into the sympathetic zone. Either I want to run away from it or I want to fight it if it is possible. Now, when the lion comes in front of you, complete freezing. You cannot do anything. You become immobile because your body has moved into a dorsal vagal system. So, if I think of this in terms of children and how they are responding, so suppose they're usually not in a very good social engagement zone right from the beginning, that we have to consider. So, when suppose still they are not on high on threat and they are on a limited social engagement thing, as soon as you want them to do something or to work something, and they are not able to perceive your sound properly because of some auditory issues, or maybe the perception is not very good, so they enter into the sympathetic zone, wherein they will be anxious, they will be fear, they'll be panic, they'll be aggression, they might start hitting, they might start doing some certain things which are aggressive in nature. After that, when they feel that nothing at all is working, they go into a complete shutdown or a dissociated mode. When we see our kids, like, first they were doing nicely, then you started maybe raising your voice, or maybe the demands got too much for the therapy, then they enter the sympathetic zone and they start resisting. When they cannot resist anymore, they stop responding. So this is how the transition happens. And when the arousal is increasing, that is when we move from social engagement to sympathetic and sympathetic to dorsal vagal parasympathetic. So polyvagal theory says that we will activate the social engagement system with the help of the music intervention, so that the child is not in a constant state of either sympathetic or the dorsal vagal parasympathetic. Okay. So this is one metaphor of safety created by the Porges, Dr. Porges. So he says when there is external cues, either from inside or outside the body. Now, outside environment, we can easily understand that we are getting some sounds, we're getting some lights, we're getting some environmental things. But inside the body, which we call as our interoceptive system also, so inside we have our viscera, our organs, which are also creating certain sensations. So if the child is feeling safe either from outside or from inside, both are working together. So if I have my gut issues, my gut brain axis is not working properly, gut dysbiosis, these things are also affecting the vagal stimulation. And this particular system also helps to calm down the gut issues as well, because it is working, it is innovating directly the abdominal system. So if the cues of safety is not perceived either from outside or inside, including the abdomen, including the heart, the lungs, so my child is not in a calm state. He is always on the edge. So these sensations go to the nervous system. Now there, it is either perceived as a safe cue or a danger cue or the life threat, which we call a neuroception. So when my nervous system is perceiving it as safety, I'll be at the optimal arousal level. So my arousal level is good enough to give you attention, to focus on the particular thing, and to engage efficiently. I'll be at rest and I'll digest well. So when I'm in the social engagement zone, my digestion is also working very well, because the juices, the stomach juices and everything are in a normal range. Okay. Then the parasympathetic ventral vagal system is activated. So like I said, vagus has two branches, ventral vagal and dorsal vagal. Ventral vagal controls the social engagement where the cues of safety are perceived. And if the nervous system thinks that this particular cue is danger to me, there will be hyper arousal. There will be increased heart rate, sympathetic system will be activated, there will be mobilization, so there will be either the running away thing or resisting or the fight or flight, and there can be aggression. When the nervous system thinks this is life threat as in not literally, as I said, it can be like it is complete lack of control on the situation. There will be hypoarousal. Everything in the body, vasovagal reflex, what we call, there is a sudden drop in the BP, and which might also call clinical syncope. So that causes the collapse at times or fainting at times in extreme cases. In milder cases, it will lead to dissociation or shutdown, as we call it, or complete, uh, immobilization. So, safe and sound protocol. Like we were talking, it is a research based therapy showing significant results in the areas of social and emotional difficulty. When the child is not in the right zone for engage socially, he will be having those things. When I'm not calm inside, my systems are working too much beyond their capacity. I cannot be in an emotionally stable state. So, if kids or adults having social engagement, social and emotional difficulties, auditory sensitivities, anxiety and trauma-related challenges, inattention and focus, and stressors that impact social engagement, all of these are targeted directly by Safe and Sound protocol. Indirect benefits also we get to see a lot. So, an improvement in speech, an improvement in communication, eye contact, name call response, instruction following your emotional regulation, self regulation, co regulation, cognitive abilities. These things we are seeing the kids getting benefited in those areas as well. So, how it works exactly? So, SSP involves listening to a specifically formulated sequence of filtered music. So they have designed this music piece of 5 hours after a good research, and this includes the filtered and the unfiltered versions of the music pieces, which help in better perception of the uh, music or the vocal. They especially focus on the vocal part, perception of the sounds and the frequencies by the ear. Okay, it is preferably played through headphones. However, for connect and balance, we can use the speakers also to get it accustomed, and then we eventually shift to the headphones for the core program. I'll be coming to connect core and balance, and it is given in a quiet and safe environment. This particular program has to be implemented in the presence of an adult where the child is feeling safe. So it should not be administered by somebody whom the child is really afraid of, or the child is just sitting there because he cannot do anything. The dominance or the fear factor should not be there. That it should be in a very safe environment with the person the child is really bonded with, like a parent or a therapist who is very warm and welcoming to the child, so that he can pick the cues of safety from his immediate environment during the intervention. So during this particular music, any sort of conversation is obviously avoided so as to not disrupt the music. It involves listening to the filtered music specifically, and it retunes the nervous system to introduce a sense of safety. So the three systems that we talked about, the body comes back from either the sympathetic or the dorsal vagal to the ventral vagal or the social engagement system. So the child is better able to interpret not only the human speech but also the emotional meaning. So what we say, the body language or the non-verbal cues of communication, the child is better able to pick that thing. So he's understanding not only what you're saying but how you're saying, what is the emotion behind what is being said. So once these interpersonal relationships improve, spontaneous social behaviors improve, the ability to learn, ability to self-regulate and engage socially, they obviously see a drastic improvement. So what is this filtered music? It is the music for intervention. These are the set of songs that have been chosen by the program provider, and they have modulated it and filtered it to remove certain frequencies which the human ear does not need to perceive. So I'll be talking about this in a little while. And they keep the bandwidth to the human speech frequencies. It usually ranges between 100 to 150, 175 hertz, which is the normal human speech frequency, so that kids can perceive that and filter out the background noises better. And those human speech sounds should play a role of safety cues to the children rather than the background sounds or cutting out those sounds. Like we see kids are shouting sometimes a lot or stimming a lot to cut out the human sounds which they are not perceiving as safe. So to keep themselves regulated, they create a shell of verbal stimming around themselves at times and cut out the background noises, including the human voice. So when that human voice is cut out, they cannot hear or understand anything, and we have to increase the frequency. Okay, so this particular music focuses on the bandwidth of human speech so that they can perceive it better, understand it better, and the body should start responding to the human speech as a safety feature. And this particular music, it gives directly the cues of neurological safety. So this is one diagram what SSP does in short. Okay, let's try to understand this. So first it is giving you the auditory stimulation and it activates a stapedius muscle. So stapedius muscle is, you can see a red muscle here. It is a small muscle in the middle ear which activates the bone stapes incus malleus in turn, which leads to the tautness in tympanic membrane. So consider the tympanic membrane as a rubber band. Okay. So if the rubber band is slack in between your fingers and you give it some frequency or you just pull it apart, so it's not going to vibrate because it is slack. But if you taut it, if you make it tight and then you pull it, you will see a movement, fast movement. So the perception, the frequency is increasing and it is perceiving. So we can see some stimulations happening. In our kids, this particular muscle is usually inactive or not that much active, and so they cannot perceive the human sounds as well as they should. So here we can see the middle ear muscle is inactive stapedius. So the small blue frequency range which you are seeing is the human voice frequency, and the bigger red ones that you're seeing is the background or the unwanted frequencies which they are catching. So when the stapedius is inactive, the ear or the tympanic membrane, it perceives more of the high frequency bandwidths and concentrating more on the sounds that are beyond the human speech frequencies. So they are responding more to the background noises as compared to the human speech voices. But when the stapedius becomes active, the tympanic membrane becomes taut, they start perceiving the human speech better and filtering out the background noises. Okay, so this is the role of how the activation of ear muscles helps in the better perception, and this directly helps in the improved auditory processing. So we see that the name call response becomes better. We see that the instruction followings immediately becomes better. So these things are improved because they are better able to perceive the human speech, which has now come into their safe zone, and they are cutting out the unwanted background noises. After that, SSP also activates with the music. The music has been curated that way that it is uh, activating the muscle and it is stimulating the ventral branch of vagus nerve. This regulates the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic dorsal vagal, and the child is able to enter the ventral vagal system of the ANS. Now, when the ventral vagal branch is stimulated, it also stimulates the facial nerve or the seventh cranial nerve. This seventh cranial nerve or the facial nerve is also directly associated with the stapedius muscle. So if you see the innervation here, you can see the facial nerve next to the stapedius muscle. So they are all interconnected. And when this is stimulated, the facial nerve also gets stimulated. The child can perceive and can engage in a better social interaction as compared to his state earlier. Okay, and then this leads to better facial expressions, better engagement, and better connection. So he is better able to understand the facial expressions of the other person, what he's trying to say, whether it feels safe or not. Sometimes the tone can be a little higher, but your facial expressions tell you that you are pretty safe to be with. So they are able to pick the non-verbal cues, the body language, the facial perception, facial expressions. Those cues they are able to pick better. So basically, this music it is helping you to stimulate the stapedius muscle, the ventral branch of vagus nerve, and the seventh cranial nerve or the facial nerve. When they all are stimulated together, they play a harmonious role of continuously stimulating each other and keeping the body in a good state. So it is like a vicious circle that forms that I stimulate the stapedius stimulates the facial, I stimulate the vagal stimulates the facial, then facial stimulates the stapedius, in turn stimulates the ventral vagal and the facial. So it enters into a vicious circle when my muscles and nerves are optimally aroused or stimulated. So we discussed this diagram. In this, you can see the tympanic membrane, which is the core area of the perception of the sound. So this music trains the auditory pathways by focusing on the frequency envelope of human speech as we discussed. Children with APD or auditory processing disorders have difficulty perceiving the above frequency. That is why we say that if we say in the normal tone, अगर मैं आराम से बात करूँ तो बच्चा सुनता नहीं है. लेकिन as soon as I shout, he responds. That is because he is able to pick up the higher frequencies, but not the normal human speech frequency. Okay, this is what happens with this music intervention कि उसका normal जो हमारा voice range है, we are not considering shouting, screaming here in the normal voice range. Normal voice range is how we normally talk to each other in a polite voice. Okay, shouting and screaming is not included. That is why when you do that, the child responds because that frequency hits the tympanic membrane and it goes to the brain and he responds back. But again, how long can we shout on the child? So he should be able to perceive the human speech frequencies. And as discussed, it helps in the better functioning of two cranial nerves, that is vagus nerve and the facial nerve. A little bit about auditory processing disorders. So in auditory processing disorder, there is no issue in the structure and function of the outer, middle and inner ear. The peripheral hearing is absolutely okay in the kids. The problem is they cannot process the information they hear in the same way as others do. So I hear a sound, I cannot process it. Now, this particular issue can arise at very different levels. It can be auditory awareness, auditory perception, auditory discrimination, auditory memory, and auditory comprehension. So these are the various levels you find the problems in APD kids. So sometimes we think the child is inattentive, and without thinking, we term him as ADHD, whereas he might actually be APD. So how do we distinguish? In a child with ADHD, he will be inattentive, distracted, hyperactive, fidgety, impulsive, and interrupts or intrudes others. However, a child with APD has difficulty hearing in background noise. And when he has a difficulty hearing in background noise, we say that he's not listening, he's not focusing, he's having inattention. So, if I go to the therapy room and a lot of kids are there together, taking therapy, so 4 to 5 kids, and there is a lot of background noise going on, I'm not able to focus because there is the auditory processing issue. So I'm having problem listening to the human speech when there is too much of background noises. And we see that there is difficulty following oral instructions, which we think is sometimes, the child is behaving in a certain way, whereas he's not able to perceive it altogether. The listening skills are poor, of course, so there will be academic difficulties. There will be poor auditory associations, they will be distracted, and they will be inattentive. So we find inattentiveness in both the cases, but it is important to distinguish ADHD from APD. So listening is connected basically to your whole body and especially to the vagus nerve, which is the body's internal control center for processing and responding to cues and signals from world around us. So the better regulated our vagal nerve will be, the better we will be regulated as a person. The self-regulation will be better. The internal organs will be calmed down and controlled. There will be better digestion. There will be improved breathing, improved heart rate, improved vocal cords. So all those things will be in a better zone. Now, who is eligible for SSP? So they have a child intervention and they have an adult intervention. So any child above 2 years till 13 years usually is the right or the eligible candidate for SSP in clinic. And child above 13 years and adults, they go for adult SSP. So how do we administer it? We administer it in clinic and remote or online. So in clinic, we can take up kids or adults who are having seizure history as well, because they will be under the immediate guidance or the supervision. But in remote administration, we have certain eligibility criteria. We have to see the anxiety status, we have to see the seizure history, and some other things to ensure that we can provide the remote access or not. Now, SSP has three pathways now. SSP Connect, SSP Core, SSP Balance. The original SSP program only had SSP Core as 5 hours of music intervention. So SSP Connect is the system. It is also a 5 hour music intervention. It sort of warms up the nervous system with a gentle and slow introduction, establishing familiarity and a sense of safety. So a child who is not familiar with any sort of music intervention before, or who is not ready to put the headphones, or as we have seen, there are major changes coming in the body when we introduce this music system. So for the first timers who are taking SSP for the first time, we prefer that they go through the SSP Connect program. That is, it's like, when you're exercising your body, first you do the warm up, then you do the core exercise, and then you cool down the body. So it is, SSP Connect is like warming up your body. It is preparing the body for the changes to come, and it kind of introduces the music. So SSP Connect has some music which is similar to the SSP Core, but filtration differences there. So SSP Core is the main program which is to wake up, exercise, and open the nervous system. By this stage, in case the child is not able to put the headphones in SSP Connect, we gradually introduce from speakers maybe to the headphones, and in SSP Core, we provide the music through the headphones. Okay, and this builds the so this music is given in the SSP Core 5 hours music, which brings about the resilience and the social engagement. Then SSP Balance we give to maintain, to stabilize the changes and to maintain a sense of calmness and grounding. So you can continue with SSP Balance on a repeated way to keep the child calm also. SSP balance can also be given through headphones or through the speakers. So these are some differences of SSP Connect and SSP Core and Balance program. So SSP Connect, as you can see, it increases the awareness of the physiological state. SSP Core increases the self-regulation and SSP Balance is the co-regulation. So as mammals, we co-regulate also. Self-regulation is I am regulating myself. I am bringing myself back to a zone or a normal state myself. But co-regulation is that I see you calm and I pick up your cues of safety and keep myself calm. So co-regulation is as important for mammals and humans as is self-regulation, and it for this particular thing is targeting both. So many studies have been conducted on SSP. I would like to point out a particular one. So in this, they had taken kids on autism spectrum, and in trial one, they saw that if they took the filtered music, that is the SSP music, and they are giving music through headphones only. Headphones only is any music they are providing with the headphones. So we can say the hearing sensitivity, the spontaneous speech, listening, behavioral organization, all have better improvement when it comes to filtered music as compared to the headphones. In the behavioral organization, we are finding absolutely no data from the headphones. So it is not helping. It is not just that you put the headphones and you give any music and the child calms down. So it has to be the filtered music. Another trial was conducted with the same kids, 82 kids, and they found the hearing sensitivity and the emotional control was far better with the filtered music as compared to the unfiltered music. Now, there are many interventions available. So, how SSP is different from other modes of music intervention? So, SSP first and foremost is the only program that is targeting the vagal stimulation. It is based on the polyvagal theory as we discussed, and it is the only music intervention which leads to the stimulation of vagus nerve, the facial nerve, and the internal ear muscles, leading to the child entering into the social engagement zone. So, it is focusing on your regulation part, your emotional part, your social part, and the speech also indirectly is affected because of the innovations of vagus nerve. And as the whole body settles down, the sensories also settle down. So this is unique in a way that no other program focuses on the vagal nerve stimulation to keep the child calm and less anxious, less stressed at all times. Apart from that, it is working on the auditory processing. Then it is very easy to implement. You have a curated music and you don't need very expensive set of headphones. You can give it with a normal. We do not need a noise cancellation or a bone conduction headphones for this particular program. So it is easy to implement. It can be given in clinic. It can be given remotely. And the ease of administration is a very good positive point in this particular program. So it is cost effective also. And this program gives the child preparation time, which I think most of the programs are not providing. So the other programs are mostly based on the sensory processing organization. So they are stimulating your sensory systems and leading to multisensory benefits, leading to the brain body neuronal connections for the sensory system. But none of them is regulating the body or the emotional and social state. So this program is doing that. So to conclude, SSP exercises the neural pathways associated with regulating behavioral state and social engagement as we discussed. The brain has neuroplasticity property, which this particular system takes into account and makes use of. So, as peer-reviewed research has stated that it increases vagal regulation of the heart, a vital component of ANS regulation, and this has effect on better control of state. So, overall, this program is bringing about regulation, calmness, and better behavioral states, better emotional states, and better social states. And clinical results now, more studies have been conducted. So initially we were giving this program as a 1 hour intervention for 5 days. But now it has been seen that if we give them in slow, you know, durations or breaks, so 20 minutes or half an hour, the results are better. And just to mention here, in the remote SSP program, the duration of the music does not go beyond half an hour specific. Okay, in clinic, you can give it a little more depending upon the child, but remotely it is not. And this whole program, the duration can be manipulated as per the comfort of the child. We do not force the child to listen to the music, but the music itself is so pleasing that the child is willing to hear. Okay, so this can be broken down as per the comfort level and it can be customized as the need of the child. So this was in short about SSP. I hope you got some idea about it. And in very brief, we talked about SSP, so how it is benefiting and how it regulates the body. So we can take up any questions.
Ma'am, Raghav here.
Hanji.
So, just wanted to understand how exactly how does it work in the remote thing? I'm based out of Hyderabad, and so I can have the earphones purchased here, but how about the music part of it, ma'am?
Okay. So we do have an app, the ILS app only, which in which they have the music. So once you get connected with us, we provide you the access to the app. It can only be done through a certified SSP provider. You will not get the music anywhere else. So once you have the access to the program for certain duration till we are administering, and then the access is taken off. So you can access the app, give the music on the daily basis. We get the data back. We get the whole data of how much you have listened and how much you are using it on a daily basis. So there is a continuous monitoring and we have our follow-ups in between to see how the child is progressing. Okay, so through an app, it is done basically.
And okay, so we connect the app to our to the headphones through. And
Yes.
and I did not quite get how what is the frequency of this program? You said it's 5 hours. Sorry, there is a lot of disturbance. I don't know.
Yes, yes. Hanji.
So you said it's five hours in total, right? So is it for all the three SSP core, balance, and
5 hours
connect?
each. 5 hours each. 5 hours of connect, 5 hours of core, and 5 hours of balance.
And what should be the frequency of all these three programs? So is it like the child does all the three SSP for 15 hours? Will that be good enough, or
Yes,
or she has to repeat it again after a period of time?
So repetition is usually done after 2 to 3 months, and this is like you get the change and the body comes into the new physiological state. Okay, but after say some time you see a drop. Okay, because of the environmental factors happening, because of other things, the disturbances, anything, the anxiety, or if the sensitivities of the child is too high, the anxiety is too high. So it might not completely go in one cycle. So after 2 to 3 months, we repeat the cycle. So usually kids do not need more than 3 to 4 cycles, and some kids they only need 2 cycles, maybe or one cycle. So it is absolutely individualized, and that we have to see how many cycles we have to go for. But none of the cycles is repeated before 2 to 3 months of the complete program. So once you finish balance, we wait for another 2 to 3 months because it is like you reach a peak, then there is some drop, then we again stimulate and increase the benefits, and there might be some other drop. So that is how it is repeated.
Okay, so it has to be kind of continued on a period of 2 to 3 months. After 2 to 3 months, is that what?
Usually, we do not need beyond 2 to 3 cycles. Usually.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Actually, ma'am, I wanted to ask what is the difference between SSP and therapeutic listening?
Okay. So, see, therapeutic listening, as I mentioned, that is based on the sensory processing dysfunction. So, it has a variety of albums which has music related for that particular thing, like for auditory or for proprioception, for vestibular. So, it is targeting the sensory system. It is a multisensory program, basically. Okay. SSP is not focusing on the sensory directly, it is focusing on the vagal stimulation. So we are calming down, we are focusing on the calming down of the emotional and the social states rather than just on the sensory part of it. Okay, so this is the difference.
So calming down the vagus nerve will indirectly calm down the sensory system
Yes,
too?
yes. Obviously, when you are in a better regulated state, when my systems are working properly, when I feel my environment is safe, my sensory sensitivity is automatically decreased.
Okay,
I
and
can come,
ma'am,
yeah.
one more question, ma'am. You had said it's a 5 hours music, so will the child keep the headphones for 5 hours?
No, it's not 5 hours at a go. So if you're taking remote SSP, as I mentioned, it is not more than 30 minutes. And we usually give it for 20 minutes a day. So 20 minutes a day, a child is easily able to keep. For those who cannot, we even decrease the duration. It is a customized program. So we can vary the duration according to the child.
Okay, so the like therapeutics listening works on sensory processing disorder, and SSP works on vagus nerve specifically.
Yes, specifically.
Okay, thank you.
Hello?
Hello, ma'am. I wanted to. Is there a disorganization also in this?
Sorry?
Does SSP have disorganization?
SSP disorganization.
Yeah, does it have disorganization?
No, it does not cause any disorganizations, but sometimes we do see certain increases in the sensory issues, which is transient. It usually settles down within 2 to 3 weeks because there is a lot of changes going on in the body. So when the body is entering into a new physiological state, so that time you might just see few increases. You might not. It is not necessary that it will come. We have seen more of benefits coming rather than the any sort of disorganization, and none of the disorganization is long term. It is very transient.
Okay, so it's like, is there a sensory diet also given with the music, like some activities given to the child with the SSP?
No, there are no set of activities that you can do, but yes, it is always better to engage the child into some interesting activities, which will keep
While
him
listening
better
music?
engaged. Yes, but there are no set of particular activities that comes with it.
Like swing or walking
Yes, yes,
while
you
listening
can.
music, we have to be, or is
You
it compulsory like that?
No, it is not compulsory. The child can walk, the child can sit down, the child can do some fine motor activities, some tabletop activities. He can be on the swing, he can be lying down and listening to it peacefully. So there is no restriction as to how it is to be given, only that the child should not be jumping around or not be munching too much anything, because obviously, if he's jumping, the headphones will move, and with munching sounds, the music gets disturbed. Other than that, there is no restriction, and you do not have to stop anything else in your routine to give this intervention.
So, are there any preconditions, ma'am, when the child is ready for the SSP or he is not ready for the SSP? How to decide upon that?
For the remote program, we have to see the eligibility of the child. In clinic program, any child can be given the music. Remote SSP cannot be given to everybody.
I meant to ask, are there any specific conditions where the child cannot go for SSP?
Yes, like if the child has seizure history or epilepsy, so that child is not eligible for the remote SSP program. However, in clinic SSP can be implemented if there is a high level of chaos in the household. The household environment is not calm enough, or not good enough, disturbed for the child. So in that cases also we have to filter out whether we can give or not. So we do have our pre-assessment whether we can give the child this particular intervention remotely or not, and then we decided on that basis once we know the eligibility.
Okay, ma'am. So once we go for SSP, we'll wait and see if the child is still posing these sensory issues, and then we go for sensory integration.
No, you can go side by side.
Okay, but this is going to calm down the sensory system
Yes,
as well, ma'am.
as
But
well.
So do we need to go for sensory integration after SSP?
Yes, see, it is not working on your proprioception vestibular per se. Even if you are giving any other music intervention, that does not finish or eliminate the need for sensory integration. They are two different therapies. So they are working adjunct, they are working in sync, supplementing the basically therapies. So it will enhance the effectiveness of your sensory integration. But that does not mean you don't have to give it, because there are sensory integration involves another area.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Thank you.
When do we know we have to go for a sensory integration? Like, is there any, what need to be observed to determine that cause?
What needs to be observed, you will see a lot of things in terms of 8 senses if we talk of. So tactile, visual, auditory, gustatory, olfactory, interoception, proprioception, vestibular. So these 8 senses you have to see if the child is seeking too much or if it is not responding. So some kids, they like to touch a lot around, or they are jumping around too much. They are doing hand flapping. They are doing continuously spinning, or they are always on the go. There is lack of attention. And some kids, they do not want to touch anything. There is too much chewing, mouthing, then there's a lot of things in all the systems, so the child might be too lethargic to do anything. So any of these things happening, if the child is not doing anything at all, not interested in anything at all, or he's too hyper to be controlled, or he's too much into the risk taking activities, the risk taking play. So those things, if he's not comfortable walking on a bumpy ground, the balance issues are there, praxis issues are there. So sensory integration works on all those things. So for that, you can get the assessment done with an occupational therapist or a sensory integration therapist, and then you can come to know whether you need it or not.
So is there any chance that we do get new sensory issues after SSP, which are not there previously?
Usually you don't, but with autism, you can never comment whether you will get one stemming or one sensory issue at some point of time or not. Nobody can guarantee that.
Okay, after 2 to 3 weeks, they'll all, whatever the issues
They
arise.
usually settle down, yes.
But after that also, they are persistent after this also.
See, that also depends on whether you're doing any sensory integration or not. Like if my child has high proprioceptive issue, I cannot expect it to be resolved just with SSP. I have to give an external input. So in my cases also, when we get some issues or some stemmings increasing, we do give sensory intervention as well when required. Okay, so we have to see what is the frequency, what is the duration, how much is the intensity, and based on that, we give the intervention. But in no way SSP is an alternative to your sensory integration therapy. It is a supplement to it.
Okay,
Ma'am, again, is it?
ma'am, this SSP is different from ILS, or
Yes.
both are same?
No, it is SSP is different from ILS. ILS is also a multi-sensory program. So you have the music, you have certain activities that they give. So you have to perform those activities with the particular music. Plus ILS is a very long program. So compared to SSP. So they are, and the philosophies on which they are working are completely different.
Okay.
Okay, so I think that's about it, and we are on the closing time also. So if you have any further queries, you can mail us at gigglesclinics@gmail.com. That is GIGLESCLINICS, or WhatsApp us at 81781 63066. So thank you everyone for joining in, and hope it was a useful session.
Ma'am, can we have access to this video?
Access to this video that you'll know by evening, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.